I never imagined betrayal could sound so polite. Saturday night, candles flickering, soft jazz playing, and my sister laughing across the table until her voice dropped. Once Harper moves out, Ethan can take the guest room, she said, like I wasn't sitting 6 feet away. Her boyfriend grinned. Free rent and a bigger place? That's perfect for us. The fork slipped from my hand, hitting the plate with a metallic clang. I looked up, smiled, and poured them more wine. Inside, my pulse was thundering, but my face stayed calm, practiced, pleasant, unreadable. They kept talking, mapping out their new life in my house, right in front of me. By dessert, I already knew what I'd do. I'd let them pack their things, brag about their new home, and when they woke up, they'd find the house gone, and me vanished. 77 missed calls. The smell of roasted garlic and rosemary filled the kitchen that night, my comfort zone, my sanctuary. I'd spent the entire afternoon cooking, thinking a quiet dinner with my sister would help us reconnect. Tessa had been distant lately, spending more time with her new boyfriend, Ethan. I thought maybe she just needed her sister back. I was wrong. She arrived early, all smiles and perfume, Ethan trailing behind her with a bottle of cheap red wine. "Harper, this looks amazing," she said, kissing my cheek like nothing in the world could ever go wrong. I tried to match her warmth. "It's nice to finally have dinner together again." Ethan made himself comfortable fast, loosened his jacket, commented on how spacious the living room felt. When he called it cozy but valuable, something in his tone caught my attention. I brushed it off. Until dessert. While I poured coffee, Tessa leaned closer to him, whispering just loud enough. "Once Harper moves out, we'll finally have room for your gaming setup." He laughed. "Perfect. And we can rent the second bedroom. It'll cover utilities easily." The cup in my hand froze midair. "Rent? Move out? My house?" I turned slowly, smiling like I hadn't heard a thing. "Everything okay?" Tessa's eyes widened a split second of guilt, then recovery. "Yeah, just talking about how great this place is. You really have it all, Harper." I nodded. "I do." The rest of the night played out like a scene I wasn't part of. They laughed, planned, even mentioned repainting my walls. A softer tone. I answered with automatic politeness, though every word scraped against my patience. When they finally left around 10 p.m., I stood at the window watching them walk to their car. The streetlights caught Tessa's hair the same auburn shade as mine. For a second, I almost pitied her. Almost. My phone buzzed a text from her. "Thanks for dinner, sis. I'll swing by tomorrow to talk about the guest room thing." Guest room thing. That was the moment my smile vanished. The calm I'd worn all night hardened into resolve. If they wanted my house so badly, they could have it for about 5 minutes. I set my coffee mug down, turned off the lights, and whispered to the empty room, "Game on, Tessa." The next morning, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing. Tessa. "Hey sis, are you home? I'm stopping by." No. Good morning. No warning, just entitlement, packaged in fake cheer. By the time I came downstairs, she was already in the kitchen, making herself coffee like she owned the place. "Ethan's helping a friend move today," she said casually. "I thought we could chat. You know, about your living situation." I leaned against the counter, arms folded. "My what?" She smiled the way people do when they're about to sell you something. "You've got this huge house all to yourself, Harper. It's a lot to handle. The maintenance, the bills, the yard. Wouldn't it be easier if someone helped out? Maybe even lived here to share the load?" Her tone was sugar, but the meaning was acid. "You mean you and Ethan?" She hesitated, pretending to think. "Well, yeah, temporarily. Until we get on our feet. We could help around the house, split expenses, maybe even—" I cut her off. "Pay rent?" She blinked. "Well, eventually. But think about it, Harper. You've been working nonstop since Mom and Dad passed. You never take breaks. Maybe it's time to simplify. Focus on yourself for once." Her words were carefully rehearsed. Focus on yourself. Simplify, the same manipulative empathy I'd heard from her during every argument that benefited her. I forced a small laugh. "You're right. Maybe I should take some time for myself." Her eyes brightened, mistaking my calm for surrender. "Exactly. You could travel, Or stay somewhere peaceful. We'll take care of everything here. Oh, I'm sure you will, I murmured. She didn't notice the edge in my voice. That afternoon, Ethan called me. Hey Harper, just wanted to say thanks again for dinner. Tessa told me you're thinking about taking a little break. That's awesome, you deserve it. He paused, letting his confidence show. Don't worry about the house. We'll make sure it's safe while you're away. Safe. The word tasted wrong. I hung up politely, then sat at my desk, staring at the photo of Tessa and me from years ago, two girls in matching dresses, grinning with ice cream on our faces. Back then, I would have given her everything. And maybe that was the problem. By evening, I'd already called my lawyer, Mr. Graham. I need to understand my legal rights regarding my property, I said. Hypothetically, if I wanted to sell without telling anyone. He paused, then chuckled softly. Completely within your rights, Miss Lane. The house is in your name only. You can sell it tomorrow if you wish. Good, I said. Then I'd like to discuss how quietly that can be done. Outside, rain began tapping against the window. I took a slow breath and smiled for the first time all day, not the kind my sister would recognize. That night, sleep never came. The rain pressed against my windows like a reminder that nothing stays still forever. I sat at the kitchen table, a half-empty mug of coffee cooling beside a stack of unpaid bills and faded family photos. In one picture, Tessa was 8 gap-toothed, grinning, holding a paper crown I'd made for her birthday. Our parents had just divorced, and I'd promised her we'd always take care of each other. I was 19 then, barely holding myself together, juggling 2 jobs and night classes. Every step of her life after that, her prom dress, her college tuition, even her first apartment had my fingerprints all over it. And now she wanted my house. The hurt wasn't sharp anymore. It had hardened into something colder, something clear. Pity was gone. So was guilt. By dawn, I'd filled 3 pages of my notebook, not words, phases. Phase 1. Pretend to weaken. Let them believe they're winning. Phase 2. Legal clarity. No loopholes, no warnings. Phase 3. Quiet sale. Cash buyer only. Phase 4. Inform them when it's too late. Phase 5. Disappear. I drew arrows between each step, labeled contingencies like an architect designing her revenge. My handwriting looked steady, almost professional, though my hands trembled from caffeine and fury. At 9 a.m., I called Mr. Graham again. What's the fastest legal way to sell a home to a private buyer? I asked. Depends on the buyer, he said. Cash offers close quickly, 2, maybe 3 weeks. I can refer you to someone discreet. I'll need that, I said. And confidentiality is non-negotiable. After hanging up, I opened my laptop, created a new folder named Project Freedom. Inside it, I placed scanned copies of every document, the deed, tax records, maintenance receipts. No one would ever accuse me of being unprepared. Then I called a storage company downtown. Yes, I said. A climate-controlled unit. Medium size. Starting today, the manager asked. Moving soon? Something like that, I replied. I spent the next few days boxing memories, not all of them worth keeping, but all of them mine. Each framed photo, each childhood keepsake, each letter from our parents, I wrapped them in silence. When I was done, the house looked emptier. Not lonely ready. Before leaving for the storage unit, I stood in the hallway, tracing my hand over the wall where Tessa's height had once been marked in pencil. 1,999. 2001. 2003. My throat tightened, but only for a moment. You took my kindness for weakness, I whispered. But you forgot who built this home from the ground up. The plan was no longer a fantasy. It was motion. And soon, they'd learn the difference between love and ownership. The next Saturday, I became someone else, the fragile version of me they wanted to see. My hair was unbrushed, the dishes stacked in the sink. I even left a few unopened mail envelopes on the counter for effect. When Tessa and Ethan stopped by to check on me, I made sure the house looked like I was losing control. Wow, Harper, Tessa said, scanning the mess. You've really let things pile up. I gave a tired laugh. Yeah, I've been a little overwhelmed lately. Her eyes flickered, not sympathy, calculation. You need rest. Maybe this house is just too much for one person. Ethan nodded. We could help, just until you get back on your feet. I nodded weakly. Maybe. I've been thinking about taking a break anyway. That was all they needed to hear. Their faces softened the kind of false comfort predators give when they think their prey's stopped fighting. Really? Tessa asked, voice bright with rehearsed concern. That would be so good for you. You could stay with Aunt June or maybe rent a cozy little apartment downtown. Just focus on yourself. I might, I said, hiding the tremor of satisfaction in my voice. I'll start looking into it next week. Ethan clapped his hands once. Perfect. We'll keep an eye on the place. I can even fix that loose step on the porch. Sure, I murmured. I trust you. The moment they left, I locked the door and laughed softly into the empty living room. They were already redecorating in their minds, rearranging my furniture, renaming my space. Exactly what I wanted. That evening, I emailed Mr. Graham and Maya Reed, the real estate agent he'd recommended. Subject line: private listing inquiry urgent. Discreet. By Monday morning, I was sitting across from Maya at a quiet cafe downtown. She was efficient mid-40s, calm eyes, the kind of woman who knew how to keep secrets. I don't want my family to know until after the papers are signed, I told her. Maya nodded. We can handle this off-market. Cash buyers only, limited visibility. You'll be invisible until closing. Invisible sounds perfect. For the next 2 weeks, I maintained my role flawlessly. I sighed in every conversation, claimed the stairs felt steeper, mentioned maybe renting a smaller place. I even left a doctor's pamphlet on the kitchen table managing stress after 35. Tessa found it during one of her check-ins. Oh, Harper, she said, resting a fake sympathetic hand on my shoulder. You deserve a break. Don't worry, we'll make sure the house feels just like home while you're gone. I smiled, letting my silence say more than yes ever could. That night, I crossed another line off my notebook. Phase 1 complete, Phase 2 was already in motion. And this time, there'd be no mercy. 2 weeks later, my house no longer felt like mine, and that was the point. Boxes sat half-packed in the hallway. Curtains stayed open so the place looked airy, ready for viewing, as Maya called it. On the outside, I seemed distracted, tired, forgetful. Inside, every move followed a checklist. Maya met me again that Tuesday morning, crisp folder in hand. 3 cash buyers are interested, she said. All private. No online listing, no sign in the yard. Perfect, I replied. The quieter, the better. She smiled. You'd be surprised how many people prefer clean exits. That afternoon, while Tessa texted me links to affordable rentals, helpful little sister, I was signing pre-closing documents in Maya's office. The offer came fast. A young couple relocating from Portland, $720,000 cash. 2-week close. Do it, I said without hesitation. Maya's pen glided across the page. Once the funds clear, they'll own the property outright. You can choose when to notify your relatives or not at all. Oh, I'll notify them, I said. Just not in time. When I drove home, the street looked ordinary. Kids on bikes, a dog barking. Nothing to hint that the world beneath my roof was seconds from collapse. I parked, sat in silence, then took a long breath that felt like the first one I'd had in months. That night, Tessa and Ethan showed up unannounced again. Harper, we brought pizza, Tessa said, waltzing in before I could answer. Ethan dropped the box on the counter. Thought you could use company. Lonely in this big place, huh? I gave a weary smile. Actually, you're right. It's been exhausting. They exchanged glances. Hooked. Tessa brushed invisible dust off a chair. And Saturday. You've done enough, Harper. Maybe it's time to let someone else take care of things. Ethan leaned against the counter, confident. Once you move out, we'll keep it spotless. Promise. I nodded slowly. You'll keep it spotless. They didn't notice the tone. They never did. We ate dinner together, though I barely tasted a thing. I just watched them how easily greed looked like love when people practiced it long enough. After they left, I opened my drawer, pulled out my notebook, and drew a single, clean line through another step. Phase 2 complete. The next morning, I transferred my valuables to a small storage unit. Jewelry, documents, The photo albums that still mattered. Every box I carried felt lighter than the one before. When I locked the metal door, the sound echoed like finality. By Friday, the sale was official. Maya called just after lunch. "It's done, Harper. The funds have cleared." I stood in the empty living room, sunlight pooling across the hardwood floor. "Thank you, Maya." Then I whispered to the walls that had witnessed everything. They wanted my home. They just got their eviction notice. I gave them exactly what they wanted. The illusion of victory. For the next week, I played the role of a woman surrendering. I sighed often, misplaced my keys, and pretended to forget things mid-sentence. It wasn't difficult. Exhaustion came naturally now, though not from sadness from holding back satisfaction. Tessa dropped by almost every day, bringing food I never ate. "You need to take care of yourself, Harper," she said softly, arranging flowers in my kitchen like she was already nesting. "Ethan and I were talking. If you want to take a little trip, we can watch the house. No rush to come back." Eversection. I gave her the most convincing tired smile I could manage. "Maybe I'll visit Aunt June for a bit." Her eyes gleamed. "That sounds perfect. You'd finally get some rest." Ethan came by that night with a toolbox. "Just tightening a few things," he said, walking up the stairs without asking. "Wouldn't want your handrail coming loose." His boots thudded across the hallway floor, my hallway, and I had to force my hands to stay still. They were already moving in, one small act at a time. By midweek, I noticed Tessa's shampoo bottle in the bathroom and one of Ethan's jackets hanging on the coat rack. They thought they were subtle. They weren't. Friday evening, I set the stage for their official win. When Tessa came over, I left an envelope open on the counter. Inside was a printed confirmation from a local property rental, a short-term stay, nothing permanent, but it looked like I'd found a place to live. She spotted it instantly. "Oh my God, Harper, you found somewhere." I pretended embarrassment. "Yeah, just for a while. I think I need space." Ethan's grin spread slowly. "That's great news. We can help you move if you want." I wanted to laugh. "Help me move out of the house that's already sold?" "Thanks," I said softly. "That means a lot." That night, I poured a glass of wine and walked through every room, the living room where Tessa and I built blanket forts as kids, the guest room she now called theirs, the kitchen that had always been my peace. Every corner held memories of love that used to mean something. But now those memories were just echoes, and soon, they'd belong to someone who valued them again. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya. "Sale officially recorded. Transfer complete. Congratulations, Harper." I smiled. The timing was poetic. Downstairs, I could hear Tessa and Ethan outside, laughing as they carried boxes from their car to my porch, their porch, they thought. Through the window, I watched them. They looked happy, triumphant, unstoppable. It was almost touching, the way people could build castles out of lies right before the tide came in. I turned off the lights, whispered to the empty air. "Enjoy it while it lasts. In 48 hours, they'd discover the truth." Sunday morning arrived like the calm before a storm. The rain had stopped, and sunlight spilled across my kitchen floor, golden, almost forgiving. It was the perfect day to disappear. By 8 a.m., my car was packed. Just 2 suitcases, a box of important papers, and the framed photo of me and Tessa as kids, the only one I hadn't put in storage. I looked around the house one last time. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a set after the final scene. Before leaving, I taped a small note to the fridge. It read only 3 words: "Take good care." Not that they would understand what that meant. At 9 a.m., Tessa called. "Hey, are you still planning to leave today? Ethan's got the truck ready." "Yes," I said. "I'm heading out now. You two enjoy the place." "We will," she laughed, voice bubbling with relief. The moment I hung up, I felt the weight lift. I drove straight across town to my temporary apartment, checked in under my middle name, and turned off my phone. 2 days later, the sale officially closed. The deed transferred, the money cleared, and my sister, my sweet, scheming sister, had no idea that the house she was living in no longer belonged to me. On Wednesday afternoon, I turned my phone back on. It exploded with notifications: 77 missed calls, 13 voicemails, 22 text messages. The first voicemail came from Tessa. "Harper, I think there's been a mistake. Someone just dropped off an envelope saying we have 30 days to vacate. Call me, please. The second was shakier. What the hell did you do? The letter says you sold the house. Tell me this isn't real. Then Ethan's voice loud, furious, unraveling. You can't just kick us out. We live here. Click. I poured a glass of wine, sat on the couch, and pressed play on the next one. Each message was another act in their collapse. Tessa's voice went from disbelief to panic to begging. Please, Harper. We'll pay you rent. We'll do anything. Just don't do this. I made a mistake. Ethan pushed me. Okay? Please answer me. You can't just vanish, Harper. Where are you? The last message was barely a whisper. I miss you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Just call me. For a moment, I almost did. Then I remembered that dinner, her laughter while planning to evict me from my own home, and the pity drained away. That evening, Maya called. Harper, the new owners received the keys today. Everything's settled. Good, I said, looking out at the city lights from my window. I hope they treat it better than the last tenants. Maya hesitated. Family trouble? Let's just say I learned that family and loyalty aren't always the same thing. A week later, Mrs. Lyle, my old neighbor, called to check in. Harper, dear, you wouldn't believe what I saw. Your sister was on the lawn yelling at two moving men. They said they had to change the locks. I smiled faintly. So, the new owners moved in? They did. Young couple, lovely people. Your sister looked ready to faint. Thank you for letting me know, Mrs. Lyle. You've always been kind. When I hung up, I finally exhaled. For months, I'd been walking on eggshells, pretending, enduring, hiding. Now there was nothing left to endure. The house was gone. The memories, boxed and safe. The peace, finally mine. I sat in silence for a long time, phone face down on the table, 77 missed calls flashing faintly in the dark. Each one represented a different emotion: guilt, shock, desperation, regret, but none of them belonged to me anymore. I whispered to the quiet room, "You wanted my house, Tessa. You got the lesson instead." Then I turned the phone off again, placed it in the drawer, and let the stillness wrap around me like armor. It took exactly 3 weeks before the silence stopped feeling strange. At first, I'd wake up reaching for my phone, half expecting to see another desperate message from Tessa, another apology wrapped in manipulation. But the notifications had gone quiet. Peace, I realized, is louder than noise. I rented a small apartment in a part of town where nobody knew my name. Sunlight poured through the windows in the morning, painting gold streaks across the walls. The place was nothing like the old house, smaller, simpler, uncluttered. But every corner was mine. I didn't have to share space with guilt, expectation, or betrayal. The first night there, I made pasta and opened a bottle of wine. No guests, no fake smiles, just music, the hum of the fridge, and the sound of my own breathing. It felt like freedom. Sometimes, I thought about Tessa. I wondered if she'd learned anything, or if she still blamed me for the consequences of her choices. Mrs. Lyle had mentioned that Tessa and Ethan moved into a rental outside the city. Higher rent, smaller space, no yard. Apparently, Ethan left a month later, and Tessa was trying to rebuild her life alone. Good. Maybe solitude would teach her what kindness never could. One evening, while sorting through my storage boxes, I found the old photo of us again, the one where she wore the paper crown I'd made for her 8th birthday. I traced the edge of the picture with my thumb and smiled, not from nostalgia, but from acceptance. I didn't hate her anymore. I just didn't owe her anything. I placed the photo back into the box, sealed it with tape, and wrote on top, "Past, keep sealed." The next morning, I met with Maya for coffee. She handed me a check, the final balance after taxes and closing costs. "You're officially debt-free, Harper," she said. "Any plans?" I sipped my latte and smiled. "Just living." She tilted her head. "That's a rare plan. Most people want more." "Not me," I said. "I had more once. It nearly cost me everything." After she left, I walked to the waterfront, wind whipping my hair, the city glowing behind me. I pulled out my phone, opened my email, one new message, from Tessa. Subject: I know I don't deserve forgiveness. Body: I lost everything, Harper. Ethan's gone. I can't find a job that covers rent. I know you hate me, but please, I'm still your sister. For a long time, I just stared at it. Then I pressed delete. No reply, no anger, just peace. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and whispered into the breeze, "You made your choices. I made mine." As I watched the boats drift along the harbor, I realized that revenge had never been the goal. It wasn't about punishing them, it was about reclaiming myself. They had turned love into leverage. I turned silence into strength. When the sun dipped below the horizon, I headed home to my new life, my own space, my own peace. And for the first time in years, I didn't look back.